Hi, welcome to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diabloinkgamers.com. I'm your host, Flux. I am joined on the show this week by Neinball
Guten Tag.
and by a first-time podcast guest, Rankil.
Hello,
Or is it Rainkill?
Rankil.
Close
I
enough.
actually don't know how to pronounce it. I pulled it from a Dragonlance novel, so I have no idea how to actually pronounce it.
And probably neither is the author.
Yeah.
So, this is your first time on the podcast. Why don't you give a little intro to your past Diablo play experience? You played from Diablo 1, I think you told me, and then what you've been doing in D3 and your current characters and why people should respect your opinions about everything.
Yeah.
No pressure. No pressure, though.
Just trying to make it quick. I mean, yeah, it started D1, was playing that, had, everyone's first experience of running away from the butcher and just, yelling obscenities as you're trying to find a door to hide behind him to shoot him for 10 hours with your bow. Um, but yeah, then moving on, I actually played it long enough to find a legit Goddard Damarung, Doombringers, a Kingsword of Haste, although it was a broadsword, and a Wind Force. So played it for quite a while. Um, and then D2 came around, and super pumped for that. I was reading the strategy guide, I think, for 2 weeks leading up to the game. Played that. Started playing softcore, but my main focus in D2 was hardcore. It was always kind of a big passion for me to just go through, get a character killed, and then start all over. And then D3 didn't start hardcore, started in softcore because Inferno, you will die. I was thinking I wouldn't want to get to level 60 and die immediately. So my goal first was all 5 classes to clear Inferno. I did it by 1.03 and then basically went self-found hardcore from that point on and haven't really turned back. So I'm enjoying self-found. It's fun. It's definitely frustrating when you look on the auction house and you see for a few million gold you can buy a 5,000 damage upgrade, but it is challenging. So
And you actually have gold, unlike other people who play hardcore.
yeah,
Especially I'm in play Self-Found, especially.
yeah,
There's a post I just made today about people are saying that as we're getting more people playing Self-Found now, the game, the last couple of patches added in very expensive crafting and gem recipes to make a marquee gem takes like 66 million gold in total cost, which is not a big deal if you use the auction house and sell things, but if you're actually Self-Found, it's really tough. But you said you actually have money in the bank.
yeah.
You're
I
not
guess
poor
as
and
the
starving.
caveat, because there's really no defined self-found rules. I use the self-found rule where I allow to sell things on the auction house. But since I have 5 level 60 hardcore characters, basically any gear that I find is actually going to go to a character. So typically the only things that I actually sell are gold find gear because apparently the bots still love that, and I'm sitting on I think 150 million or so right now. So for people that say that you can't make money in this game, for someone who basically sells just exclusively gold find gear, you can make gold.
And how is your hardcore fortune doing, Neinball? You got a Paragon 100 yet? Are you in the B club?
That I am not. I think I've got like 25 million so far. But
Wow, that much, huh?
yeah, not a lot. But that's, I mean, that's come from like I think like 2 cells that I had for one for 10, the other for 12, and then a bunch of just little stuff. I've been, instead of farming, I've actually been leveling up a whole bunch of other characters instead of farming on my monk to get it up in Paragon levels or to make money. So that's kind of the reason for me not really caring so much about the amount of cash that I have, because as soon as I get one character to 60, I'm just leveling up the next one. I'm working on a Demon Hunter right now because I thought I'd be masochistic.
And this is all hardcore?
Yes.
Well, congratulations. Yeah, I didn't know what kind of characters Renko was playing at all. I mean, we talked a couple nights ago for before he was on the show, and every single person on the podcast lately is playing hardcore. And this is not like an intent. It's just everyone who only played softcore seems like they've quit the game now, or just is taking a break until the expansion. And everybody left is playing hardcore. So we're not actually discriminating against softcore players on the podcast. It's just kind of working out that way.
I call it my
Yeah.
unintentional ladder reset. So
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Inadvert. Yeah.
I believe like the mentality for me and a couple other people that were on the podcast was just to try it out for something different, while going and playing the game to break up the monotony of just grinding to Paragon 100, and then just the play experience, is just a lot more fulfilling. When you get low on life, your heart, your pulse starts racing because it actually matters. Whereas in softcore, it's whatever, just hit respawn and go at it again.
What is your highest level Paragon 9 ball? Is it a hardcore or a softcore?
Oh, it's a soft core because I mean I only switched over to hardcore March or March, somewhere around then. So my softcore monk is 69. I decided to stop there. I thought it was fitting.
That's my. I was trying to do Beavis and Butthead laugh there, but
And then on hardcore, it's also
what
my
level
monk
is it, by the way? I didn't hear that. What level was it?
69.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. And then my hardcore monk is 16.
Wow, that's almost as high.
Yeah. So not yet legal.
What is your highest level character, Rankil?
Currently, my witch doctor's 43, but I have a dead 42, a dead 30 barbarian, and then a dead 24, which actually through Cellphone actually made a CM wizard that had I think it was like 2.3 attacks per second, so it wasn't really at that 2.7 breakpoint or so, but I was able to do MP7 Ubers with him, so that was pretty fun until he died doing MP4 key runs.
Well, you're braver than most.
Yeah.
Let's see if we'll do that with softcore wizards.
Yeah, no,
I just
it's
I just recently got my hardcore monk got to be my highest level character ever. My old softcore monk got kind of I guess retired. I guess he's still active. I can play him again someday, but he's 81, and my hardcore one I think is 80, 88 now or 87. So getting close to 100. Xanth's gonna beat me there. Xanth's at 98, so he'll probably be on the show in a week or two, and he can gloat about his hitting Paragon 100, unless some PK gets him first, which we can
hopefully he
always
doesn't
hope
die
for.
like my buddy died at 99. It was like,
Uh,
What do you what do you mean? What do you mean doesn't? Hopefully.
well, I don't
That's
know.
our fondest wish that he dries at 99. Think of the content we get out of that.
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of our intro here. We're going to get mostly covering on this show the Diablo 3 expansion teaser we got recently and some of the story of Diablo 3 and where we think it's going to go in the expansion. Neinball is an expert on that, so I'm sure he'll have brilliant insights all across the board. And what we think we're going to see from Gamescom this week, and then a little bit of maybe what's going to come at BlizzCon. What are they going to save for BlizzCon? And so anyway, just a few days ago, they've been saying for a while we were going to see something at Gamescom, and then suddenly I think it was what Thursday night or something or Friday night, this image appears on Blizzard's site with this cool splash screen, and it's made very clear that this is the Diablo 3 expansion. I mean, I posted in the news, if you paste the link of the page into your Facebook, like it does this automatic reprocessing of the link, and says Diablo 3 expansion, well, Realms of Terror. What the hell is it called?
Reaper of
Reapers.
RO
Souls.
Reaper
Yeah.
of Souls. There you go. And then so it's not like Lyleria sent me an email about it. And I replied to her and I said, you know, you guys aren't really. This isn't really a tease. This is like a reveal. She's like, well, there it is. You know, like she just didn't even comment on it. So
I think that's what they
Uh,
do though, is they take these and they kind of give it to the public and they have them deconstruct these things so that they feel like they've, discovered the secret and ooh, look at them that they didn't, but they probably did it intentionally for the purpose
well,
of
they
it.
put it. She said it went up on the website about 5 p.m. People found it by like 10 p.m. So, but anyway, it says this realm of I can't remember the name, Reaper of Souls.
Reverse.
Good acronym, by the way. It's an
Are
improvement. What was the last StarCraft? HOTS?
HOTS. Yes.
Okay, no. And the last Warcraft was MOP.
hmm
They've been in a little rut in their acronyms, but ROS is good.
It's getting
ROS?
RoS.
I call it ROS. It's like LOD.
Yeah.
And as we know, all Blizzard expansion titles must have an of in them and be 3 or 4 words long. So
Well, then this
you're
one
trying to think of
fulfills it.
exceptions, aren't you? I
Burning
can tell.
Crusade.
The Burning of the Crusade and Cat of Clism are the two WoW ones, so that all works out nicely. But anyway, they've teased that, and Gamescom they have a press conference scheduled the first day, which is Wednesday. We're recording this Sunday night, so in 3 days, in theory, we might know all about the Diablo 3 expansion, or maybe know very little about the Diablo 3. What do you guys think we're going to see from Gamescom?
I don't think there's going to be a huge reveal. They'll probably play. I would think it would be a cinematic that explains the beginning of the storyline and kind of a, hey, this is what you guys have been waiting for. We'll have the expansion. I mean, I don't even know if it would have something of like the new class in it, but I think it's going to be more of a tease, and then we're going to get a lot, like maybe some details of stuff, but a lot more detail I think would come BlizzCon, where they can actually sit down in panels and whatnot and discuss all of the various new things of loot systems or characters or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are going to see a cinematic because we had there's the tweet from the head of the cinematics department saying they just finished up something new for Diablo, so we'll definitely see something in that respect. As far as information goes, I think that we'll get some of the bullet points of the big features, like they'll definitely talk about Loot 2.0 regardless, or they might go a little bit into how they are going to change the itemization going into the expansion. In addition to that, we may or may not get a new class announcement. They might save that one for BlizzCon, but some of the other things, like maybe bringing back the talisman or the mystic, things of that nature, will probably just get bullet points, and the in-depth information they'll wait until BlizzCon. They're just going to use this one as a press showing.
I think I agree with you guys more or less. I think we'll get, if not a full cinematic, maybe a stylized one, like one of those 2D ones, with the pencil and art kind of thing we saw in D3. Or I mean, we might get a full thing like the Black Soulstone again, but I'm not really expecting that.
Well, that's the thing is that I was going to say because that was leading up to Act 3, and if you remember, it was actually they cut like the first half because right where Tyrael reached his hand out and like grabbed Leia's shoulder and kind of woke her up from her dream, they cut right before that part, and that's what they were showing us the before one. So it might even be like half of kind of a cinematic that doesn't ruin.
I'm actually thinking more along the lines of the cinematic we got at the original Diablo reveal. It was just it was a custom-made cinematic that didn't get used. It had a whole bunch of fully rendered and textured little snippets that were not reused in any of the other cinematics in the game. So I think they probably just made some custom thing, just cinematic for publicity purposes.
Of course, before Diablo 3, we saw a bunch of the first cinematic of the game with Lee and the church and the meteorite and stuff. And the meteor, not the meteorite. We didn't, it wasn't the whole thing, but it was just sort of lots of different clips of that. And then we saw a few clips of like other monsters and stuff.
Yeah, I think we probably won't get the opening cinematic, because that reveal they didn't do until like what, a month or two before the actual release. So I don't think that we'll get the opening cinematic for it just yet, but just some sort of 30, 45 second press reel type thing.
That's short, huh? I think it'll be a little longer, and they'll probably have some gameplay clips.
Oh well,
I mean, they want to tease us with new stuff, but they don't want to give things away. So I mean, I'll be shocked if we get like the 6th character or the setting of Act 5 or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure that we will, get a lot of gameplay and things like that. When I say cinematic, I'm actually, talking about like a fully rendered FMV, and then on top of that, we'll see, gameplay and clips and stuff like that to show, like the whatever features they have that they're going to be adding in.
From what they said when I was at Blizzard at the Fansite Summit at the end of June, it really sounded like I didn't get any sense that they're going to be showing anything before BlizzCon. They had multiple comments, the next 4 months, and we're going to be developer interviews and no content till after BlizzCon. It was never like the next 2 months. So I wonder if they just felt, maybe they're further ahead on work than they planned on being, or if they're getting desperate for not getting enough PR attention.
Also, if they were going to, go and do the expansion reveal at Gamescom, and they wanted to keep that under wraps for whatever reason, they obviously wouldn't be talking about, oh, we'll have more information at Gamescom.
What if there's nothing? What if Gamescom is just Diablo 3 console and everyone keeps asking them questions and they just give you a blank look like, what do you mean, what new stuff? Wait for BlizzCon.
If there was a way that they could disappoint Diablo 3 fans, more than that, I don't know what it could be.
How about all Magic Find becomes negative in the game? And so now you now have negative 300 Magic Find. That would be more disappointing.
They would actually announce that they're closing down the servers and they're shutting down the entire PC game and only supporting the console from then on.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be...
That'd be great.
That would be amazing. Then people...
And you can't transfer your license either.
Then people could stop complaining about the auction house.
Exactly. If there's no PC game, then they can't complain about it.
Yeah, and then also all those people that said that the game is horrible and, has been made specifically for the console, they would have nothing, you'd have like 2 weeks of them saying, haha, I'm right. And then after that, it's like...
Okay, so the teaser for this, what we assume is going to be the expansion, the Realm of Souls, Reaper of Sauron, whatever it's called, is going to be...
I like that name.
It's this little thing they showed has a quote on it that says, "Death at last shall spread its wings over all." Like how death is an it's, not a he or a she. I always thought it was a she, personally, because I've had, girlfriends. But anyway, it says, "Death shall spread its wings over all." And people immediately pointed out that is from the Book of Cain and part of a quatrain. And the full quote of the 6 lines says, "At the end of days, wisdom shall be lost, as justice falls upon the world of men," which obviously is Tyrael in Diablo 3. "Valor shall turn to wrath, and all hope shall be swallowed by despair. Death at last shall spread its wings over all, as fate lies shattered forever." And as you're the expert on the Injurious Council and all of the heavenly manifestations of Diablo 3 Neinball, you can just tell us what all that means. The
Oh,
key angels. Tyrael was the what? Tyrael was justice.
Tyrael was
Correct?
justice, as you know, and he fell upon the world of men, as quite literally. The hope being, eaten by despair was, the reference to Ariel, being captured by Rakanoth. Um,
Which happened in the early in Act 4 in Diablo 3.
Yep. We're saying this like the people listening to this podcast wouldn't already know. And
And
then
Wait,
most of them
people
skip
play
this
Act
every
4?
time. Just once
that
when they
is
first got
true.
the game.
When you first got the game, or a couple times when you're leveling a new character.
Yeah, so I was just looking at this today. I hadn't played Act 4 and actually watching the cutscenes in like forever. And I was like, knowing I need to prepare for this podcast and to get ready for whatever we're going to see from Gamescom to speculate on the story. I'm like, I have to go and play Act 4 and watch all the cinematics and listen to all those angel dialogues. And I started thinking about doing that more and more. And as the more I thought about it, it literally I could actually taste Chris Messin's balls. Just thinking about doing that. I could taste his nutsack. And I'm like, yeah. So I went on YouTube and watched a walkthrough and just kind of skimmed through it. But it was just as good and not as salty. So carry on, Nineball.
That's always a good thing.
Um,
If you can
the
still talk after that analogy, anyway.
yeah,
Bad mental image now.
the I can't even do it.
Yeah, you can't talk.
You've got him.
Yeah, you got me, Vegeta. Um, anyway,
So anyway,
so
that little
yes,
quatrain, that quote seems to cover what happened in Diablo 3 and to give a preview of what we're going to see in Diablo
yeah,
4 or Diablo 3 and a half.
the other thing that was actually covered in the game is the wisdom being, what is it, the wisdom being lost is because Malthael, who is previously the Archangel of Wisdom, as you find from the little lore books, upon learning that the World Stone was destroyed at the end of Lord of Destruction, he went AWOL, or most so that they specifically say that he completely abandoned heaven.
And he's
And
been that's like a million years ago or something, right?
no, it's he. It was when the World Stone went missing. Is when he began to, become emo, for lack of a better word. He went from this being that was said to have cared about all life and was very wise and was the kind of the de facto leader of the Angiers Council, and he started, turning dark and not caring, and because with the World Stone gone, that was kind of like some of the basis of his, deciphering of everything that was going on in the universe, or as they call it, creation and lore. Uh, when it was actually destroyed, the 20 years ago in the story is when he actually abandoned heaven. So he's been gone for the last 20 years, and no one knows what it is that he was doing, although it's kind of alluded to in some of the conversations that you have with Tyrael, that he's somewhere in the Pandemonium Fortress, which is kind of the it's in between heaven and hell, something outside of Sanctuary and the rest of everything else, as where the World Stone used to be held before it was taken by Anarius in the birth of Sanctuary.
So he's sort of lost. We don't know if he's going to come back or not. And then what it seems like, death shall spread its wings over all. That's right after. I mean, the Valor shall turn to wrath. That's
Yeah,
Valor is
the
the bitchy
things.
angel who tries to kill you like 5 times in Act
Yes, the
4.
two things
Imperius.
that I guess you could kind of say the Valor turning into wrath is Imperius, who is the Archangel of Valor, going and becoming snarky and wanting to kill you every 5 seconds, like you were saying. Just becoming looking at getting vengeance upon you for bringing all of this tragedy to heaven. And the other aspect that wasn't touched upon in the game was the fate being shattered, which fate is Archangel Ithriel, and nothing actually happens to him at all in the game.
And
He's just
and you
there.
see him. He talks to you a couple of
Yeah,
times.
he's the first one that you come across in Act 4, immediately after killing Iskatu.
And you see him again at the very end when Ariel talks to you, and he's just kind of floating there.
Yep.
So he's not injured. He just doesn't talk much.
Yeah,
So
so I mean, there's those two things, about fate being shattered and Valor actually turning to wrath, or some potential things that we could be seeing in this expansion. Imperius going full tilt on the side of evil, or not so much, joining forces with Hell, but just doing whatever he can to try and kill all of the Nephilim, and then something, the future doesn't look very bright for Ithriel, based on that poem.
I was ready to
And we
kill him
don't.
in
There is no
D3.
Angel of Death, right?
There
he's
is no Angel of Death per se, but
So what
Malthael.
is Death is spreading its wings overall? Is
Well,
that an person? Is that
the
a
thing is,
well, Mathiel is
Malthael,
kind of, yeah.
when he was first introduced in the end of the Sin War trilogy, he was set up essentially. They weren't being called the Archangel of Valor, the Archangel of Hope, and such. He was just kind of there and set up as being the Angel of Death. He's clad in black robes. Very brooding character, and just his voice instilled the feelings of empty death upon all the mortals that could hear it. He was.
God, like my first wife?
Oh, there you go. But yeah, so I mean, it's in what we already have established in the lore is that, and that's basically what Malthael had become after the theft of the World Stone, of it being gone for a few thousand years. He's more or less just become this, brooding character that basically is kind of a proxy of the Angel of Death. And so, when it goes through and says that, death shall spread its wings over all, and, the obvious connection with the Reaper of Souls, or like the Grim Reaper, in my mind, it's almost completely obvious that the Reaper of Souls is going to be Malthael.
But Imperius is the bitchy one.
I was ready to kill him in D3. Every single one of those cinematics, I'm like, good, we get to fight him now. We get to fight him now. And then he's like, I'm like, what? No. I'm like, wait, we're killing Diablo now? What's going on? I wanted to kill him.
At the very end of the last cinematic, when Tyrael walks up the invisible staircase,
Mm-hmm.
he says, when he becomes Justice, and he says, no, he becomes
He becomes
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Justice. He says, the angels and men shall now stand together. He makes this whole thing about, our time of separation is over, and now we're going to team up against the demons. And you see Oriel and the other one floating around at the end of the game. You never see Imperius again after he's about to fight you, and then he collapses right before the final Diablo battle.
Yep.
Once Diablo reaches the Silver Spire. So it seems like from what we've seen of Imperius during Act 4, he's not going to be real down with that whole let's team up with humans thing. So
Yeah.
many people are assuming he's going to be the bad guy, or at least a sub boss,
Yeah. And
because he's not going to want to be part of that alliance.
if he is not, a sub boss in the Reaper of Souls, early into the Diablo III development, and then that leaked document from a few years ago, there was mentionings that there would be 2 expansions for Diablo III. So if we don't see Imperius as a bad guy in Reaper of Souls, he's definitely going to have some sort of part in the second expansion. But I don't think that he's going to be, the Reaper itself. I'm, like 99.9999 repeating % sure that it's going to be Malthael.
But you can't see him joining the demons, though. I mean, he's obviously
yeah,
very opposed to the
No,
demons.
yeah.
no, but that's the whole thing. Death spreads its wings over all. I think with Malthael, going crazy after the destruction of the World Stone, he holds everyone responsible, and he's just going to go and attempt to kill everything.
So if you're building an act, obviously we had some corrupted angels in Act 4, but mainly it was demons that you were fighting in Act 4. And you could easily throw in a few angel bosses, like Izual is essentially an angel boss. Is a corrupted angel, obviously, but so if we're gonna see, so you're imagining a new game where Malthael is like the head bad guy, or maybe Imperius is a boss, but then you're not going to be fighting tons and tons of little angels all throughout the game. They're going to still be demons or corrupted humans or something like that. So it seems like it's going to be like we can't just have a whole act where it's like, hey, now the angels are the bad guys, because you need a bunch of different little foot soldiers and trash mobs.
Yeah, I mean, part of the way that I see it is that Act 5 is going to take place in the Pandemonium Fortress, which is, kind of not really neutral, but the neutral ground in between heaven and hell. And Malthael is going to be on a quest to, defeat, or basically, kind of eliminate all life. And just like Inarius was able to go through and convince, a bunch of angels and demons to set apart their hatred for one another to get out of the eternal conflict, that Malthael might at least go through and find a way of convincing some people that the only way that all of this will end is for everyone to die, and get some nihilistic individuals to join forces with him. Obviously there'll be the crazed cultist type thing, is one thing of getting humans going through into it, or angels that are disenfranchised with the destruction of heaven, or followers of Imperius that don't like the direction that Tyrael is taking the Angiris Council. That those could obviously be easy write-ins for people that would side forces with them. Or obviously, it doesn't really take a lot to say demon, ooh, me like kill, and want to just anything that could bring about greater destruction now that all the primevals are gone for the time being.
You have a much more detailed answer than I want. I just really want to go back to hell and fight some demons, and then I figured because demons basically they'll do anything. They kind of really don't care, so they'll follow whoever. And then the cult, the cultist kind of thing, they're kind of the same thing, but it's just more they're twisted and whatever, and they'll drink the Kool-Aid of whoever wants to give it to them. And then yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to throw in some little like already corrupted angels or something that didn't get saved, I guess, from when you killed Diablo the first time. But
You think it's going to be in the Pandemonium Fortress? Huh? You think we'll get multiple scenes and settings in the expansion? Because I figured we get, we get to Scovos or we get to a jungle. There'll be something in Sanctuary. Some hunting, some scavenger hunt bullshit always comes up in these things,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's something that I would definitely like to see in the expansion. Is even though in Diablo 2, Act 5 is by far the largest act in D2. Though I would like.
Unless you're in the Great Marsh in Act 3, in which case nothing is ever larger than that.
I'm
No.
still actually searching to get out of there. So
Yeah, many people are.
But if they actually added in multiple acts instead of just one huge one, you learn of this threat, and you have to find a way of getting back into Pandemonium, and so you have to go to some other place on Sanctuary to find a portal that to get there or whatever, whether it be Scovos or what was the one castle, Ura, that was actually shown in.
Yeah, with the two peaks on the side of the mountain
Yeah,
thing.
the castle and the city that's built into the side of the mountain, because that one in lore, has some things where it's like, extra dimensional and crosses in between all of the planes and such.
Yeah, speaking of names that are good in books and that can't be pronounced in real life,
Yeah,
like you, Rankil, that's Ureh is the city, and everyone's like Urea, Ura, Ure.
Ura.
Yeah,
you're a
yeah. So it's a good idea when you're writing your fantasy creation to try and actually sound some of the names out to see how they'll sound and not just how they look on the page, because sometimes
Not
they're
even
bad.
so much of the writer going through and trying to get it how it sounds. It's like go and ask like one of your friends that doesn't read science fiction or anything like that to try and pronounce it, because in your head you're going to be like, everyone will know how to pronounce this, it's easy. And then just go and ask one of your bar friends or something, how would you say this?
I think it's just a matter of trying to be unique, and it's just that so many names are kind of already out there, so you just have to start spelling things and throwing letters at, you're throwing darts at a dartboard to spell the names of your cities and characters.
Manatees pushing balls through holes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Chris Metzen's falls through the holes. So loose ends, lots of loose
You
ends.
brought back the
You mentioned
mental
one a
image.
second. Adria took off before Act 4. She regenerates Diablo and becomes the primeval in Leah's body. And then he's like, okay, thanks, bye bye. And she's like, okay, thanks, bye, and just vanishes. And you never see her again. It's like, that was a little unsatisfying, but she has to pop up again. We have to get some resolution to that, don't we?
Oh,
I
for
would say
sure.
she finds the Black Soulstone that falls from the sky because, since Diablo basically disintegrated or whatnot, but then the Black Soulstone remains. So I would think that she finds it and is trying to like search for maybe another host, which could even be, or was it Malthiel? Mathiel? I don't know how to pronounce him. I'm bad at that too. But
I can't
Malthael.
spell it either,
because
so it's even.
I,
maybe she's like looking at putting him as the host because since he wants to destroy everything, she kind of strikes a deal, with him, type something like that.
Potentially. I don't know if any of you guys noticed it, but they have the pre-order for the Book of Tyrael.
Mm-hmm.
On the Inside Editions website, there's a couple pieces of artwork that weren't shown on the Blizzard site going through and talking about it. And one of them is, let me see if I can find a link to it real quick to show you guys. Because one of them is, this kind of like demonic looking creature, but it has these kind of vestige wispy wings that look kind of akin to the angel wings, only, fleshy instead. And its name is Malthus.
Yeah.
Almost the same as it is, Malthael. So kind of like a corrupted looking angel
Yeah,
being thing that could
it's
very well be.
Tyrael.insideeditions.com. You can look all their
Yeah.
pictures. And they got some cities and towns and stuff. Yeah, so there's three black and white
Yeah,
pictures
because
on
there
it.
were concept arts at least of the the Amazon's town and things like that as well. And I mean, plus you keep hearing all the followers talking about their background stories too. So it's like you very well might even go to those areas. Like that's basically I think for the the FedEx quest of looking for and searching the treasure hunt of the three pieces you need to assemble the shrine of the silver monkey and to go into wherever those tombs and something else.
Yeah, it's ironic given that pretty much everyone complains about the Diablo 3 story, and now there's an expansion. Everyone's like, "Oh, what's the story gonna do?" It's like, well, didn't you all hate this the first time? But it's better in concept than in reality.
Well, at least hopefully it's not shoved down our throats this time in terror, and
Yeah, hopefully at least a third of it won't be delivered via, lecturing holograms. That would be awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest complaints that anyone had with the story in D3 is just Asmodan in Diablo.
The Obviously with the Black Soulstone, after Diablo was defeated, for some reason they just like kicked him over the edge of the balcony, and he he melts away in the sun as he falls.
Seems like a bad
And
way to dispose of.
yeah, I would have probably kept that around just in case,
Like, hey
personally.
guys,
But
should we
Yeah.
save this? Nope, just get rid of it.
nah, whatever.
Nah, what's the worst that it could do?
Well, it's not even. Isn't it also too that hell and heaven are actually not really necessarily like above and below sanctuary? They're actually in like kind of another dimension type thing. So really, even with it falling, it's kind of more or less falling into an abyss of all things.
It looked like it
Eh,
was just falling down to heaven. Like they were up on the highest building in heaven, and now below it's just a bunch of the town. Like it's gonna land where you fought Iskadim right at the start of the act or something. But
It's going to land in their
obviously that
fruit
would be a little
market,
too
and then
easy.
someone's going to sell it.
Yeah, it lands on the farmer's market, and a fish swallows it, and then the princess has to find it on the ring in the cave. Anyway, but it's fall. So yeah, so Diablo's corpse like melts away and burns away to nothing, and then the Soul Stone's just falling and falling. And as far as we know, the Soul Stone is still full of all the other primevals and is like super powerful and can be unlocked and kill my demon hunter if I leave her alone in the armory for 10 minutes like an
It
idiot.
was excellent
But
closure.
yeah, so it's just that's obviously a very obvious loose end. I mean,
Especially, given the cinematic that you mentioned earlier, the Wrath cinematic that we got, where they go through and fully show Diablo and the other primevals seemingly are immortal. You can kill them and they'll just come back. Well, then again, also Tyrael showed that because he was completely destroyed with the World Stone, but it took 20 years, but he finally reformed himself. So they're not really even killable. They know, like disposing of his corpse, that he's going to come back eventually, and so yeah, we'll see him at one point further down the road.
are we going to see some of the other? I mean, maybe it gets broken up again. I mean, they seem like they're going towards collecting of things in the stories. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because initially we had the seven different, the greater and lesser evils in Diablo 2. We didn't even see a couple of them. We just got Asmodan and the other ones in Diablo 3. But obviously that could break up again, and then Andariel and Tyrael and not the other one. They have too many IELs in these things. Duriel and
Yes.
the other ones could all pop out again. But
Yeah, and Dariel, Duriel, uh,
Mephisto.
Mephisto, Baal, Diablo, Asmodan, and Belial.
so are we going to need to do an emergency podcast Wednesday night or Thursday and say here's all the exciting new information? Oh my God, we have to talk about it, or is it just going to be like, yeah, it's just a bunch of teases and we all knew that was going to come and we'll see it in 2 months at BlizzCon?
Nah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. At least right
I
now, is that I'm in a holding pattern and just kind of see what it is. But I still just don't think that it's going to be like this is the big reveal. It's everything. Here's the new class. Here's your new loot system. Like that's BlizzCon is kind of what that's for.
Yeah, it definitely, no matter what it is that they say, it's not going to be, enough to satiate people. It's just going to be an appetizer, a teaser in order to get people more interested in it. It's going to maybe hit a couple bullet points on some features. They might save the class reveal for BlizzCon, in their big, opening ceremonies on Friday morning and such. But I'm sure they're not just going to say, "Oh, here's the expansion," and then leave it at that. We'll get a little tidbits of information.
People are suggesting that perhaps they're further ahead in schedule than we think they are because now they're revealing it sooner than we thought they were going to reveal it. Have you guys made your guesses on our guess the release date expansion Diablo 3? And are you ready to move those up 6 months now and you're in great excitement?
No, I haven't made mine yet. But I if
Now's your chance.
if I had to say, I mean, I still think that I mean, when the way you're looking at it, they still haven't even announced anything for a beta. So even if they are in a beta, that's probably like a 6 months or something like that. So I mean, you're at least looking February. But typical of Blizzard, when it's done, they would shoot for 6 months. It would probably be 8 months. So it might be like an April, May release, at the
Which
earliest
year is this?
of next year,
Oh
2014.
my God! Well, that's
2015,
okay.
yeah, I wouldn't really see it any sooner than say like September of next year at the absolute earliest, but I would probably peg it for an early 2015 release.
Well, we have a thread you can go guess, and the first people who guess it get prizes.
I
Prizes.
love
Prizes.
I believe I said December 9th, 2014 was my guess. It's a Tuesday, whenever that is,
Or,
somewhere in
or
there.
wait, am I
Well,
supposed to make the standard comment of people say it's going to be another 20 years or something for them to come out with new content?
well, that is your role as being the new member on the podcast.
No, the new member is supposed to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and like he's like all optimistic and thinks everything's going to be wonderful.
Oh, okay, so we'll change that. You go back and say a more
It's the
realistic,
jaded veterans
and
like
and then
yourself who
I'll
say,
say it's going to come out in 2020.
I'm looking forward to the expansion. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, there's also not even just really the expansion, but with like the Loot 2.0 stuff and everything else that kind of hopefully revitalizes the game for a lot of the haters. But the haters gonna hate as always.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just going to be kind of like a new, fresh stuff, and hopefully it brings back people who originally thought the game was bad and then never came back to play it with all the changes that they have. Because I mean, I'm still playing it. I think I have 1,300 hours or so put into the game already. So I mean, it's quite a lot of time that I've been playing it and I've been enjoying it. And the game really, to me, isn't. I wouldn't say that I was, 100% satisfied with the game, and it definitely did let me down in some aspects of it. But I still think it's a great game that it is now, and Blizzard actually puts themselves to improving their products. They don't just sit there and leave it and say, okay, well, that's it, and I guess you guys are screwed with, a half-assed version.
I agree.
"Good point."
Yeah.
Either of you guys excited? The console is actually coming out pretty soon as well. I was talking to a friend today who's getting an advanced review copy, and I'm going to be doing him on the podcast before the console is even out, hopefully. But also ask some of you guys on the podcast guests if you're going to be playing it.
Yeah, I'm
And do
planning on buying it.
you have a console, and you're gonna which version, and are you going to hop right on it?
I wish they had a demo of it because I would like to play kind of both of them just to see if there actually is a difference between them. But I think I'm going to lead towards the PS3 version, mainly because I don't have to reactivate my Xbox Live account in order to play it online.
Yeah, it does seem to be the PlayStation is the lead console that they're developing it for. So,
And you get more bonus items. So
yeah,
Red
that
Wings, and yeah, I think like the Journey shoulders, and there's what else was there?
yeah, it
There's
was
like one
the
more.
Drake's amulet, the Journey shoulders, and Leoric's gauntlets.
Yeah.
Those are all the special pre-release items that followed the exact same path as the other Diablo III preview legendaries, which were immediately announced and immediately hated for not being big enough on the numbers. And Blizzard immediately said, okay, they'll be bigger in the game, and actually they released screenshots showing them with bigger numbers. But is that really a reason to buy the console or not console, depending on which bonus items you're going to use for like 5 minutes and never touch again?
No, I mean I don't think necessarily it's that. I think those are just pre-order bonuses to get people to put the money up front, and kind of get them to buy in early instead of waiting, because most people play the waiting game, especially now with how much, people are throwing out bad press about it. So they're trying to get people to buy in beforehand. I mean, I don't blame them for it, but it's also that's what they do anyways with most games these days, especially consoles. You always get these pre-order bonuses.
Any console plans for you, Nineball?
I'm still not really sold on it. Yeah,
Do you own a console that would play it?
yeah, I have a PS3, so
Is it going to come into your Mario racing kart time or what?
well, I was pretty good with the Koopa Trooper,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's lately I've been playing The Last of Us on the console, and that one's pretty good. So it's like I still don't know because it's like even if I got it for the console, I have so much time invested on the PC.
Primarily though, I'm gonna do a full playthrough on it, but I mean it's not gonna take over. I'll still play PC as my primary, but the biggest thing for me is just kind of like if I have my friends over and we want to play a game, because I mean we'd play games all the time and we'd try to find some sort of action RPG game for a
Yeah,
console that we could play, and there isn't any game. And I mean this is gonna be the best action RPG game that you can have for a console, as good or
even
bad as people make the game to be.
Yeah, even I mean, in that respect, even just as like a multiplayer game, so few console titles nowadays allow you to play multiplayer on the same console. They all require some form of online play. Just the fact that you can get 4 players, on one screen is, pretty nice in that respect for having friends over. And I think if anything, that would be the one reason, why I would get it.
There's also the slight changes too of, I mean, me being a cell phone player too, I might even make it really be, I'll play cell phone on console because they seem to have kind of done little nudges to loot stuff. Crafting, I think, crafts more towards the main stat of the characters,
Yeah,
and
they
then there's
they
no
did.
auction house period. So
And the NPCs sell a lot more rares,
yeah, so
and you find better
Yeah,
quality
you
and
won't have
less
as you
junk.
won't have as many rares, but the drops will be better. And
yeah, so it's
like you
kind of like a
pointed,
Loop
the
2.0 preview almost in a way that it would be.
yeah, and then also you can get legendaries drop at any level, so you could be level 60 working on your paragons and finding a level 60 like an item level 63 Leoric Signet with up stats to actually make it want to use it.
Is that
Well,
going to be in the console? I actually didn't even.
It was in the
yeah, that was
screenshots.
in the
Oh,
screenshots.
oh yeah, there was
That
the
was,
calamity or
yeah,
something or whatever
yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was a level 30
Yeah,
that
yeah,
calamity
was
or
one of
something,
the
which
things.
which of course was much worse than the
yeah.
blue he already
Yeah,
had.
that
But
was one of the things that I hadn't even noticed, and Flux actually pointed it out on one of the podcasts that we did.
last random feature question I was wondering about: if we get another character class in the expansion, are they going to add more character slots, like go from 10 to 12, so you can have a hardcore and a softcore of all the character
I would
classes?
hope
I,
so.
Or
yeah,
will you have to delete your characters to play the new one?
that would be a bit asinine in that respect, but they did at least in World of Warcraft. Whenever they added a new class, they upped the amount of class slots you had to roll the characters. So I
I
would
guess we'll
I
find
would
out.
hope that with Diablo they would do it similar. Yeah, I can't say that word. You
And
know what
that's
I mean?
even the same thing with the, proposed if they add a ladder. I mean, they've been asking a lot of questions about what do you want in a ladder, so it seems pretty obvious that they're most likely going to be implementing it. But yeah, that's another one of the questions I think they even had on there was like, if we have a ladder, what do you want to do with your character slots? Do you want new character slots or do you want to use the existing character slots? So
Yeah, we have this whole thread in the forums now. People are calling it the self-found league, and you're starting up new characters to do that. And multiple people were like, "I would love to do this, but I don't have any character slots left. I'm not going to delete one of my mains or a fully loaded alt just to play this self-found character because you need like more stash space to start saving new stuff for your self-found characters to pass between them." And it really seems like if they do a ladder or something like that, then we'll need more places to put the characters. And
yeah, I'll tell you, playing a
I'm
cell
sure
found
that's
is you are the big world's biggest pack rat of everything because everything that you find that looks somewhat useful, you hold on to it because you can't just go on the auction house and buy, any sort of main stat vit resist gear. So you're just holding anything that you can because you're expecting yourself to die, and you might die multiple times.
and you're doing it with hardcore, so if they die, it's all
Yeah,
gone. So
yeah.
you need it more than once. So any last thoughts, guys, or we're good? I think we're done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the only other thing too is character classes, where I just kind of think of, I mean, I think that it's going to be a
Well, we're not going to find out till BlizzCon anyway. So
I mean, it's going to be a strength class, but people now since because that's the thing is you look at even with this being a teaser, it's already just putting up that one teaser site with one quote and how much talk it's had about it, and even people coming back to saying, hey, I had this game from the WoW 12-month pass, and then all of a sudden there's this talk about some expansion, so I'm actually interested in playing it.
it's interesting about the sixth class thing. I mean, so Neinball is the sixth class going to be like a Druid shapeshifter that uses
That's
strength, or are they
actually
going to, or
That's what I
shh, shh,
think.
shh,
okay. All right.
or are they going to redo the entire stats attribute system, and therefore there's no reason to think it'll be a strength based class, and they'll make the monk strength based the way it should have been in the first place, or something, or will it be a panda?
Hopefully not a
Well, the
panda.
panda option is very tempting. But I think that it will be a strength-based shape-shifting class. That's something that I've said in previous podcasts. Is that there's just so much work that we saw that was done on the early concepts of the Demon Hunter of being this half demon human shape shifting hybrid that was all based on like melee attacks and such, and they ended up scrapping it because it's like we wanted a range class, and now this is just some sort of heavy melee based class, and they had to completely redesign the character from the ground up. So that just makes me think that they already have all of this work done for the exact thing that's kind of missing, both from, the proxy of the Druid, which we didn't get in Diablo 3, as well as a second strength-based class to even out all the gear.
Where does the Necromancer fit into this?
I
And
would
the
love to have
Paladin.
the Necromancer, especially given it's supposed to be like some, death-themed expansion. If we could get 2 character classes as opposed to just one, we get the Necromancer.
Okay, thanks for the time, guys.
Thank you.
That you listened to the podcast, and we'll see soon enough how we're all very, very wrong on our predictions.
Most likely.
110% wrong.
And you've listened to the Diablo podcast. We are online at diablo8gamers.com. Moo.
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 Moo, moo, moo,
Moo.
moo.
Moo moo.
Did you spend weeks practicing your moo in case you get on the podcast someday,
Oh, I told my
Rankil?
girlfriend about one time that because she always wonders why I play Diablo so long, and I told her about the cow level, and she was like, "What? I don't get it." And then I showed her a video of, someone going through the cow level, and her and her friend just couldn't stop laughing. They just thought it was the most
Moo.
hilarious thing ever. Just moo, moo moo.